He even looks creepy. He looks like the Crypt Keeper. Sorry,
He
Steve.
does.
Sorry, Steve. You look fucking creepy. I don't know what to tell you. Welcome back to the Chorizo Bros, you guys. We got the whole original crew back together again. I'm sure you can notice.
Let's go.
We've had a couple of rotations in and out here. Again, some of us get a little bit busier during the summer, so thank you guys for sticking with us, leaving comments on our videos. Shout out to Matt Sanchez. You're the best, dude.
Let's
He's
go,
watching
Matt.
all of our videos, commenting on all of them. He's probably watching this now with his mouth agape. Like, they mentioned me. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Matt. We really appreciate you, dude. Before we get into it, I did want to say another thing real quick. We've had some stuff going on with the house, some issues with their air conditioning system, and we've had a lovely, lovely company come in and take care of everything. You might have remembered we mentioned Artica once before. I haven't really shouted them out too much. But they are a fantastic company if you're in the greater San Antonio area. So in these hot months, now is the time to get some work done. So I wanted to shout them out one more time. You can reach them at 210-847-0775. So shout out to Artica again, you guys. But let's get to it. We've been promising y'all the Misery podcast forever. Yes. It's been weeks since we talked about this. So we're glad to have the whole crew back together here. I'm going to do it the way we normally do it. Kind of the expectation is you guys have seen the movie and read the book and or some mixture of the two. I'm going to let these guys kind of take over, give their spin on it. I think Art's just watched the movie so far, right?
Yes, I watched the movie.
And then Jeremy, you've done both?
I did both.
Right, I've also done both. So which one do you want to go first?
Okay.
I'll go first.
Go
first. I'm excited.
Whoever, yeah, let's do it.
Because Misery, there's a lot of things about it that I really enjoyed. I'm being nitpicky on certain things that I didn't like, but as far as the book goes, I thought it was fantastic. I think that the way Stephen King kind of wrote it, pretty simple. It's not a hard read at all. You can follow along really easily. I think the storyline is really interesting. It kind of keeps you glued from the get-go, and it picks up, and it's pretty crazy right from the start, and it just kind of builds its way. And you kind of think, like, it can't get crazier than this, and it does.
Yeah, it gets crazier.
So the book, to me, was just incredible. The movie, I thought, was actually really great. Mm-hmm. Not as good, in my opinion, but as the book. But I think it's still a great watch. I think for most, moviegoers, they would really much enjoy it. For any, book enthusiasts, you definitely have to read it, because it's just a lot of fun. A little scary, but not really that scary.
Yeah.
So it's
more of like a thriller.
Yeah, more a thriller, but you're just intrigued on what's going to happen next. So I just really, really enjoyed. I just was entertained throughout the entire time reading it and watching the movie too. I was entertained the whole way through. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
So thumbs up for both.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, jump in.
Well, for me,
Tell us about the movie.
I just saw the movie. I didn't read the book. But I bet you the book is awesome too, because the movie, I love the movie. I recommend people to watch this movie if they want a good thriller, mystery. It's the beginning right away. It starts at the car flips, gets crazy. Oh man, the nurse is nuts. That lady is fucking crazy, man. Yeah. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I recommend it to anyone to watch it. For real. This would be something I'm sitting down. Guess what movie? I watch Misery. That's a good thriller movie to watch, man.
It has good rewatchability, I feel.
Yes,
it does.
I already saw it 4 times.
It does.
Get out of here.
Yeah, for real. I should not trying to get details and stuff, but it's just so good, man. Jessica loved it too.
I was just gonna ask, did she watch it with you?
Yeah, she saw it with me, and she's like, "Man, this is actually a good movie. I hadn't even seen this a long time ago."
Did you watch it years ago, or is this your first?
No, I saw it years ago. I didn't know there was a book about it.
Uh-huh.
And then watching it now, it's just I forgot how great this movie was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's just. How you say the craziness of this lady,
yeah.
Dude, it gives me chills, bro. I just just being hopeless but not.
Yeah.
Dude.
So basically, guys, I think all around your thumbs up on the movie.
Oh,
it sounds like
thumbs up all the way.
Double thumbs up, triple thumbs up.
I'm being serious, man. Even if I read the book, I bet you the book was great.
Yeah. So I'll
just
throw in.
Seeing the movie, it's fuck.
I'll throw in my opinion also here. I think I'm with Jeremy on this one. They're both fantastic. The book does edge out a little bit better. It's just a little bit better. And like you said, there are some nitpicks I have in both things, but overall great. Overall great. Just guys, watch this movie. It's great.
Please.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely. I mean, I wouldn't. If your kid, if your kid watches horror movies like the way I grew up with it, they'll love it. Because I watched horror movies pretty early on, and it was one of my favorite things growing up. So they can handle it, but it is, it's crazy. So basically, like the plot of it, and this isn't spoiling it per se. We're gonna go into spoilers. We're gonna talk about everything that happens. But the plot of the story is basically this famous writer is kind of hanging out at this hotel. He just finished his new novel. It's not even published yet. It's a manuscript at that point.
Right.
He gets in a car accident in a snowstorm, and he gets saved by a lady. He wakes up after falling unconscious from this accident in this lady's house. She helps him, heals him, does surgery, it seems like, or it looks like she kind of does something to heal him up, whatever the case is. Gets him addicted to pain pills.
Yes.
That's a big part of it.
Yep.
And then come to find out she's manipulating him and lying to him, and because she's stalker level of his biggest fan. And that's pretty much it. And then you see sort of all the things happening here. I should mention I do have the German Shepherd in the room too, so if you see kind of a tail go by or whatever, that's what's going on there. Or some scratching on the door if there's a random edit.
It's Annie!
Yeah, it's Annie. Oh my god.
She's at the door!
You're going to wake up tied up to the chairs.
Yeah.
Oh, man, stop, bro.
Okay, so were there any cool things that you guys want to discuss about it?
That to me is the most scariest monster there is.
She's
I think
terrifying.
The cool thing about, kind of going off your question there, I think what makes it really scary is the way that it was written and also filmed. You got this like sense of this is a real person. Like, you know, with other like thriller movies, it's like Jason. It's like that's not a real person.
Grounding,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
They humanize this villain big time, and her little, kind of bipolar attitude is very believable with, especially nowadays with a lot of people with mental illnesses. So it was just, I think, I forget the actress's name. Gosh,
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates she was perfectly
She won an
cast.
Oscar.
Did she?
She won an Oscar from this. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Her and what's his name?
James Caan.
Sugar, to them, those are the two best villains.
Oh, you're gonna put her on Anton Sugar level? That's scary,
dude. Because think about it, bro. Like how like she like drugs this dude, fucks up his legs, knowing that he can't go nowhere. I'm like, if I was a grown man, you could get up and beat her. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But
he could totally take her.
Yeah, like she.
Jeremy, will you tell Art how he gets maimed in the book? Because they don't do it the same way in the movie.
Okay, dude.
There's some differences.
All right, there's a lot of differences. Like,
tell him specifically about that one.
Okay, so, and I was shocked when
I was
read
shocked
it,
too. Yeah,
because I watched the movie first.
Same.
And then I read the book.
When I was younger, I watched it. Yeah.
Right. So, the crazy part in the movie, of course, is when she puts that 4x4 between his legs and bashes his ankles. Right.
Oh yeah.
So, dude, in the book, she cuts his fucking foot off, dude.
That's why he brought the axe.
That's why I brought the axe.
She cuts his foot off with an axe.
She cuts it off, bro.
Fuck.
And then she takes a blowtorch and cauterizes it.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, I gotta watch.
And she also I think takes off his fingers.
His thumb.
His thumb.
She cuts off his thumb. She
Dude.
cuts off his thumb. Well, it probably because the
wow, dude.
I mean, that's crazy.
The
That
props and
is
stuff would have
nuts.
been or the what do they call it? The special effects, the makeup effects would have been probably hard to do. That shot when they break his legs, that's pretty effective.
And it's tough because cutting the leg off, that's pretty, or cutting the foot off is pretty crazy. But in the movie though, when the way that they did it, I was like, wow, like,
and then how the legs just go right in.
It's almost equally as horrific.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah,
and
you wouldn't want either to happen to you.
Yeah, like I was okay with it in the movie because.
Oh no way, man! When I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I can feel that pain. It's good either way. I think it would have gone, as far as the movie goes, it would have gone in a more R-rated direction, and that's probably why they toned it down. They probably toned it down for ratings, and they probably toned it down for how expensive the makeup effects would have been. I don't know, but if I had to guess, because all of this is all very practical stuff. It's not, I mean, it's in a house. They put makeup on his legs when they show it, but he's only just kind of just squirming and acting like he's in pain, but you don't really see his legs that much.
Right.
Yeah, they were wrapped up, weren't they?
So yeah, for the most part, I mean, you
Yeah.
can kind of see the bruising and stuff in between, but like, that's probably what it was. It was probably like, man, that would, if they were to remake it today, I hope they don't. But if they were to, they would definitely cut the leg off.
Yeah.
They would definitely.
I was
cut
about
it.
to say that they have to put that in there.
Yeah.
I hope they don't remake this one because just Kathy Bates was just phenomenal, and I don't think it would be the way it's because it's a simple movie. There's not like
It's
a
very-
lot of
That's part of the appeal.
you know, yeah, and I
Yeah.
think in the '80s with the
Yeah.
film technology stuff, I think it was a right time to make this film and make it kind of stand the test of time. And so I
Yeah.
don't think you necessarily have to remake it. You know?
I like also the sheriff. The sheriff was pretty cool.
He's not in the book.
Yeah, at
No
all.
way.
Yeah. He's
The
not-
book is written in Paul Sheldon's perspective. What?
I forgot. So another crazy difference, dude. In the movie,
Oh well,
there's police.
Yeah.
There's police officers, right?
Yeah.
They start kind of investigating her house.
Yeah.
She has like a big ass lawnmower, like the ones
The
you can
riding
sit
mowers.
on. And she fucking, I don't know how.
No,
but
she stabs him with a yard ornament, like those crosses and things that stick in the yard.
Yeah.
She like surprises him, stabs him with one of those, and then he's crawling away, and it's taking him a long time. And then what happens?
She fucking runs over him with
With
the
the
lawnmower,
lawnmower.
bro. Dude, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. So like in the book, like
They
dude,
would have
it
been
just
able
gets,
to. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it gets crazy, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay, now I want to read the book.
It's
Dude.
great.
Dude.
Oh man, it's wonderful.
So yeah, those are some pretty major differences. The maiming, the sheriff, they do this. I've noticed that they've done this in a couple of the Stephen King adaptations that I've seen. So I watched Dolores Claiborne. Y'all probably haven't seen it yet, but I read it and
I'm
watched
waiting.
it.
I'm
You'll
working
watch
on
it at
that
some
one, yeah.
point. So there's in the book, it's mostly and guess who plays it? Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates
gosh.
is in it too, and she
Oh,
plays
yeah.
the mom.
Oh, yeah.
So Kathy Bates is the Dolores Claiborne character. It's in her perspective pretty much the whole time. What happens is there's a crime that takes place that she's saying she's innocent of, but then she admits to a completely different crime, and it's sort of her telling the police about it. That's the angle of the book. It's just her confession the whole time.
In the book, you're looking at Paul's.
You're just seeing his perspective, right? But then in Dolores Claiborne, they add more characters to like flesh it out. Like you see Dolores Claiborne's daughter and her coworker and her boss, and that's not really in the book. In this, you don't meet the sheriff, you don't meet his wife,
Nope.
you don't really look at the town. It's really just him being like,
Torture.
how the fuck do I figure out how to get out of here?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
it. So
I
you
think
don't know.
even-
You get the feeling of him going like, I wonder, do they even know I'm missing? You know, like having that sort of paranoia about, or like, I don't know if paranoia is the right word, but that anxiety of like not knowing what people know.
Like towards the end, he couldn't even stop thinking of it.
Yeah.
Like, he saw her. Remember the server walking
Yeah.
Oh yeah, PTSD is another part of this.
by. Yeah, like
In the book, they explore that a little bit too. Yeah, but gosh, man.
Yeah, it's so good, dude.
Dude,
This is
just-
one of his underrated books. Like people always go, Pet Cemetery, all the like big ones.
Yeah.
This one is really
Dude,
good.
it's really good.
It's
I feel like the movie
badass,
probably.
bro.
I never really was big into. I'd never seen Misery until recently, but I wonder if it's because it's not really a talked about film.
no.
You know, even now. I mean,
The only reason I saw it because my mom's into horror stuff, so I was like, she's like, this is a pretty good one. This is like actual a person actually being crazy and
yeah.
torturing this poor writer and stuff. I was like, okay, I'm checking it out. And I was like, damn, when I was a kid, now growing up older, I'm like, oh man, this is a good fucking movie.
Dude,
man.
it's really good.
It just think about how traumatized he is from all the torturing that he went through. You know what I mean?
It's almost like prisoner of war type stuff.
I
Oh,
very much
yes.
got Prisoner of War vibes.
Yeah.
I definitely got that. You almost feel like he's been through a trial at the end.
Oh yeah.
dude.
Like,
Oh,
and
man.
so one of the things that I like about the story, this isn't necessarily specific to either the book or the film, just the character himself. I really enjoy that King knows how to write an intelligent character. We've kind of always liked like Ripley. We like when they like think about how to solve a problem,
Uh-huh.
and part of the suspense of this is him like figuring out how to pick the lock, hiding the pills,
Yeah.
thinking about how he's going to drug her, or mapping her patterns and like where she goes, how long she is away.
The noises that she hears. Okay, she's
Yeah.
in this part of the room or whatever.
Yeah, and
he's very intellectual.
He's very smart, yeah, and I really like that it's showcasing in both that he's figuring it out, and he's not afraid to try it. Dude, that scene, well, I rewatched it last night to prepare
Yeah,
for
me
this,
too.
when he decides to get out of bed the first time before he has the wheelchair, and he kind of drags himself off the bed, or like the top part of his body's on the ground, and then he's got to toss his legs down.
Yeah.
And just the agony on his face when the legs smack the floor, and you got to think that's probably the worst pain that character's ever experienced up until that point. That had to hurt more than anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So and Jimmy Can, he fucking sells it.
He does, man.
Yeah, he did.
I think
the sweating and the
yeah.
Another thing that was different from the book to the movie is I think it's in the first few pages, he's talking about how gross Annie Wilkes is, how crazy, like immediately. In the movie, you kind of go, oh, she's just like trying to help him.
Yes.
And then she flips. But in the book, it starts off, yeah, she's crazy.
You get the sense that she's wild. Like, I think there's the way he describes how, because in the movie, she gives him mouth to mouth, right?
Yes.
And in the book, they describe it how her breath is just rank and like, oh, it's just gross. And so right from there, you get the idea that she's not all.
She's
that.
described as gross from the beginning.
When she said, I'm standing outside of your hotel, was waiting for you, I was like, oh, this bitch is a stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the
suit part. That her eyes and her face when you go, why'd you put swearing in your book? You never swear and this and that.
Yeah.
And she's, look at what you got me doing. Look at what I was like.
Look what you did.
Yeah. I was like,
look what you made me do.
God.
Dude, that's like abuse conversation.
Yeah.
Like when somebody's abused, they go, look what you they give it to the victim. They go, look what you did. So you see that stuff, that flip is scary.
Yes, it is, dude. I was like, oh, that's fucking scarier than a monster, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and I love the fact that she doesn't use profanity. To me, I think is really really great writing because, you know, it just adds to her psychoticness. You know, like just very prim proper, but she's not okay with saying the word fuck, but she's totally fine with cutting this dude's leg off.
Right.
You know, and it's like, dude,
she doesn't have a problem exhibiting violence, but she stops at cussing.
Yes,
he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car.
Oh, dude, I totally feel like there's people out there like her.
Oh,
I've met people that have that same like kind of.
So there's a couple of things that Kathy Bates did really well in this. There's two that really stuck out. So one of them is when she hobbles him, and this is actually kind of a thing between them, but it's almost, this is gonna sound gross, but it was almost filmed like a sex scene. The hobbling scene, and that sounds weird, but if you watch it again, the way Jimmy Can's face looks at the very end of it is like he is orgasming, and then it goes back to her face, and she goes, "God, I love you."
Oh yeah, dang.
And it's I got like a creepy vibe from that.
Oh yeah,
because she like is in love with him.
I guarantee you, the filmmakers were like, this is what we're gonna do."
Yeah, because he's in the bed. He's laying down and he's like squirming. It's almost like, you know, they just did it.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "God, I love you." And you're like, "Oh,
dude."
Oh.
Yeah. It's a really creepy film.
And then
bro.
One thing I really didn't care for in the book, and I'm really curious to see what your take on. And I understand why they did it, but in the movie you don't really get a sense of what Misery, like the books that he written, they are.
I know what you're saying.
You know, but in the book, you literally read excerpts from the books that he's written.
It's like pages worth of reading the book he's writing.
Right.
Is it a novel?
It sucks. I hate it.
It really sucks.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like a diary, like a novel, like a
no?
romance?
It's what he's it's Misery is like a romance kind of type of series. It's like a series. You know when you walk by those the romance books and you see like the Fabio looking guy, like that. You get the idea. Yeah, you get the idea that that's what the Misery books are.
He's got the hair just like
No, I call this the Lord Farquaad.
I think sure does.
I told the lady, give me the Farquaad.
Give me the Farquaad. But yeah, in the book, they write it out and stuff. And honestly, there was like a couple times I literally
I put
the
it
first
down.
Paragraph. I literally skipped it.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I should try to read it. It's going to provide some kind of insight. It doesn't.
Nope.
It really doesn't.
No.
In the movie, though, they kind of tie it together in a kind of cool way, where the sheriff's like reads a certain spot, like, you know, oh, if you're gonna judge me something.
Oh, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I really like that sheriff guy.
Yeah,
I think he was.
Dude, he was
smart.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I think he was very smart. Remember when he saw that just the branch broken off And
he found the car,
and he
basically.
Found that car.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't...
If he kept on going down, he would have hit the car.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, dude, that is pretty smart. How'd you know that
He's
branch
Deets, bro. He's Deets, man.
Sheriff Deets.
Yeah, dude.
Sheriff Deets.
He knows his little country. I mean, his little town. So he knows his shit.
Eventually, we're going to talk about The Mist on the show. But you guys, you've seen The Mist movie. We're not gonna spoil it here. I just want to mention it that you guys have both seen the movie, right?
Yes.
The wife of the sheriff is the old lady in The Mist. The same actress.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
the one that has the spray can.
Yeah, the one with spray can.
Yeah, that's the wife of the sheriff in this movie. In Misery. Is the same actress that's in The Mist.
We work together. He's like, you're a deputy, and she's trying to get.
She's trying to get frisky.
And then she says something. She's like, I'd
rather be in bed.
I'd be in bed with the sheriff.
I'd be in bed.
She likes Sheriff Deets.
Yeah,
she's
Sheriff Deets.
Yeah, man. What are the things that y'all not necessarily care for about the movie and or the book, if anything? Because I like it that we all agree on it, but I also like to nitpick, and
I think that they might have pushed the cartoony aspect of Annie Wilkes in the movie a little bit, like the scene where she brings the pig in, and she's like, "Yeah, I named it Misery," and she starts oinking at him.
Yeah.
That I was like, for the sake of weirdness, for him being uncomfortable and cringing with her,
very fucking creepy, bro. Like,
but I kind of did. Yeah, she looks at him, she's like,
yeah. I was like,
ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I thought that could have been left out. It was a little cartoony.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a little cartoony. I didn't like that.
I love the movie.
I think.
I really don't have.
Not to like. Let's because I want to hear about the ones the stuff you didn't like very much, but like when there's that scene where she comes in and it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
And she brings him something, food or his pills or whatever, and he's like, "Annie, what's wrong?" And it's weird because like he hates her, but he like asks her like, "What's the matter?" Because she's acting different, and she's like, "It's sometimes I get the blues when it's raining," and then she's like, "I have a gun, and there's bullets too. I should probably leave," and you're her like the juxtaposition between how she's acting each time. When you first meet her, you feel like, oh, this is like a nice lady.
Yeah.
And then, when she has her fucking, her anger stuff, her acting out in that way, and then you see her sadness. These are all like really different emotions she has to hit.
Almost like different characters.
Yeah. Really. Yeah. And I was like, dude, she did a really good job with that.
I loved her.
It was just crazy because like when that actually probably had me the most tense. When she reveals the gun and when it's raining, she's like, "I have this," because you're like, she's right. If she dies, then he dies.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the concept of her knowing he can't get out.
The cop guy, he found him.
Right. What were you gonna say? Because I feel like what you want to bring up right now is the stuff that you didn't like in either. Well, obviously the book, the reading Misery in the book, I hated it. They could have left it out entirely.
Yes, they could have. Yeah, that was.
Come on,
that
Steven.
Don't do that
shit.
Complaint. Yeah, that was my big complaint. I'm not gonna lie though. When I first started reading it, I was like, "Oh, I would love there to be excerpts of the, his book in there." And then when I got to it, I was like, "Oh wait, no." I did not like it at all. One of the big things I just didn't really like about the movie, we kind of already touched on it a little bit, is just how some of the big major stuff was just left out. So like I didn't like how Annie kills the sheriff. With shotgun and stuff, like, it was cool, but I mean, getting run over by a lawnmower, I think would have been much cooler and much more crazy, and it would have bro.
But again, it's probably the R rating,
right?
You can't show a guy getting fucking run over by a lawnmower.
And that would have.
Oh, dude, the book's crazy.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
It's really good. I was shocked.
Unless you're gonna bring something else, I was gonna.
No, go for it.
So, this is a big thing.
Oh boy.
Couple of big things. You guys know how, especially you guys that kind of watch the show, we like to examine what the movie means. Can you guys give me your ideas on that before I start talking about it? Before I start going...
What did the movie mean?
I knew that you were going to ask this, so I was like trying my best to try to, okay, come on, like... And I'm not big on the internet, like I don't research the movie or whatever. I try to have my honest...
You're just pure take on it.
Your take on it.
Yeah.
Here's what I enjoyed. Here's what I thought. So, I'm not tainted by anything really.
Opinions or whatever.
But it's hard because I don't think I can be super creative in that thought process to really come up with something great. So I was trying. So some of the stuff I thought it was like
This stuff
is it?
What I'm going to bring up now isn't stuff that you watch it and go, like we did with like No Country. We're talking about like the angst of retirement and the other ones that we've done where you kind of, or The Road, where we kind of like we're really thinking about it and it's never spelled out for you. This isn't. Stephen King talked about it. This was spoken. This was like said.
Oh, okay. I mean,
the
only thing I thought it was like
fans. How
yes,
there is crazy fans
yes.
out there that
yes. So there's a specific thing that
have
happened.
A life and
there's a specific thing that happened to King where he decided he wanted to explore this. Now, I've tried to like. I think y'all are like seeing. Not that you didn't know this before, but like especially doing these deep dives, that authors will oftentimes be writing about some shit that they're emotionally working through. Or they'll have it almost always has something to do with what's going on with them.
I think in order for it to be successful, you kind of have to.
Right, like The Road, he's writing about his actual 7-year-old son.
Right.
He's actually working through it. No Country, he's actually working through, man, it sucks to age. He's actually working through this shit, right? So, Stephen King, you guys know he did The Shining, right?
Yeah.
You know what that's about?
Writer?
Yeah.
In an isolated place.
And going crazy.
And it's him going crazy on his family, but in this one it's someone else going crazy on him, right?
Right.
So they're different, but he's clearly referencing himself.
Yeah, he went through something to get to the ideas of this.
Okay, so that... Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So you're saying like he had an abusive fag that was stalker?
Sort of. Nothing physical happened to him. He did get into a big car crash at one point, and that's a different story. But what inspired this specific story was he wrote a book called Eyes of the Dragon. It's like a fantasy novel, and it's like not a long book, and it's not horror. It's like knights and magic and dragons and stuff, right?
Medieval type shit.
Yeah, and it's very unlike the things that he normally does. It's called The Eyes of the Dragon. It came out in 1984. So he wrote it for his kids. He wanted to write something that he was okay with his kids reading and not feeling like, oh, there's too much violence or there's too much horror, or there's whatever. It's difficult to read. The story's very simple, good versus evil, whatever. The critics liked it. Fans hated it. All of a sudden, he saw everybody that like was buying all of his books and talking about he's the king of horror and he's whatever, just singing his praises. And then all of a sudden he writes this book that's not that stuff. And they went wild. And they talk, and he'd never experienced that before, where they were like fans, his own fans, like hating on him, like being like, "What the fuck, man? You let success get to your head," and saying all this shit. So he is obviously using Annie Wilkes as a stand-in for man, because in the book he's trying to write a different thing. Right. She finds the manuscript, and it's not a misery book. And remember, he's writing something that's not misery.
Yeah, she forces him to burn it, bitch.
Yeah, she forces him to burn it, and then
that sucked. That really,
you could tell that would have really bothered somebody. And then the misery book comes out, the one that he most recently published, and then he kills off the character, and that's when she really goes mad. Yeah. So it is sort of like this. He has complicated feelings about the fans that made him. He can pay for his bills. He can take care of his family. Become famous. Whatever the thing is, being able to live off of his art is crazy, right? Like that's a difficult thing to do. So all of his fans are the reason that he's been able to do all that. His success is just based off of them, and then to see them turn on him was an interesting thing, and that's what he was working out through this. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely cool. It's definitely one of those things where you go, oh yeah, that is interesting. Stephen King is a writer.
Yeah. So I thought of that. I was thinking of something totally different because I think that's the obvious kind of situation. I didn't know that specifically about Stephen King, but I kind of figured, he'd probably gone through something similar.
That's what I was thinking.
Because he was trying to write something different,
right?
Not the torture part, but like having a crazy.
Well, psychologically,
right.
Being tortured or having the idea that your fans don't like you anymore.
The thing that I was trying to fit with this storyline was the saying, "What's mightier, the pen or the sword?" So in the movie, I think it juggles back and forth. I think in the very beginning, the successful writer, that success is the pen's mightier, right? But then all these things happen. He gets his foot chopped off. Now, okay, maybe the sword's mightier than the pen. But then toward the end of the movie, I think it goes back and forth until the very end of the movie. What is ultimately the demise of Annie? And that's the fact that he uses this new book, this pen, to create something, and she just falls to the ground, wants to save Misery, and then now he's able to take her out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was thinking, but it's a stretch.
Right away, I was like, okay, it's got to do with crazy. Like, there is fans out there that.
Well, there's another thing that it does too.
That goes that far, like, to, you know what I mean, stalkers levels, like for a fan. To me, that's nuts, man. Like, how can you get so in love with just one person like that?
And there's even like cases where people will actually go and I think kill their celebrity crush, or I think there's been. I remember hearing like a pop star who had literally died,
got killed by
one
a fan?
of her fans. Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Where in Korea?
I have no idea.
I feel like I would have heard about this.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
I know, like, people get stalked. I mean, it's a normal thing.
Yeah, no, but it's just like nuts how one person can just get. Let's say you're a writer and I'm just in love with you and go that far to ruin my life, just to.
Well, one of the things in the story also is that it's not just him. Yes, she is obsessed with him, but when he finds that scrapbook, remember, he gets out and he finds that scrapbook, and then you see her father died at the bottom of the stairs, and then the next page is like the top student at her school, nursing school, also gets found at the bottom of the stairs, and then she becomes the top student. So she's been killing people,
and then even like babies too.
She's like an angel of death. So it's not just him that she's acting crazy with. She's killed people before. It's supposed to be a shocking revelation when you see it. That's when he starts hiding the knife in his.
Yeah, that's.
Was after he reads that, he's like, oh, she's not just like inconveniencing me. She's probably gonna kill me too.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I think this is one thing I didn't like about the book. In the movie, they made it better, but in the book, they made it seem like Annie just so happened to be there and then realize, oh, this is Paul, one of my favorite writers.
Well, I would have had to have just finished it like a day ago for it to be that fresh.
I kind of remember that in the book.
But I think it's just him writing down what she said. She's just lying to him, right?
I don't know.
Because you only ever see his perspective. You don't ever see Annie's.
No. But in the movie, they do explain that she's kind of like...
She's been stalking.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily like a focal point in the book. And if that's the case, that was one thing I didn't really care about the book. Because I'm like, really? How is it possible that just so happens this crazy wackadoodie character just so happened to find one of her favorite writers near death. She saves him and then goes through all this shit. So, but anyway. I wanted to hear what you...
the other thing.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be the first thing that you brought up.
What was it? Okay, well.
So, this book is about cocaine.
How is it about cocaine?
And Stephen King said this. I'm not going out on a limb. He actually featured in the magazine Rolling Stone in 2014.
Oh, wow.
And had an interview about what this was. And about Annie Wilkes. And he says, his quote was, "Misery is a book about cocaine. Annie Wilkes is cocaine. She was my number one fan." That's kind of the main quote from that interview.
So the addiction that he had for...
The addiction's a big part. Because Annie Wilkes gets him addicted.
Correct, yes.
So there's
oh, I see.
There's stories. Stephen King has a mythology about him. He's been writing stuff for so long. He's created some of our favorite horror stories, classic stuff. Everybody knows who the fuck this guy is. He even looks creepy. He looks like the Crypt Keeper. Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Steve. You look fucking creepy. I don't know what to tell you. So he's got this legacy, and you see him. What is the right way to say this? I don't want to get off topic because I think I'm forgetting what I'm saying, and I hate that I'm doing that.
Well, stick to the root of it, that Annie Wilkes is
cocaine.
And so
So you
she's making him addicted, and
his compulsion. He's got like OCD.
Stephen King or Paul?
Stephen King.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that. I'm just saying he's written more than like almost anybody has ever written. He doesn't stop.
No, he doesn't.
So he's not just addicted to this drug. He's addicted to writing. He's addicted to. Annie Wilkes is supposed to represent not only fandom but also his like. Because what does Annie Wilkes do? She gives him pain. She hurts him, but she also makes him feel good.
Oh yeah, that's true.
She gives him pain meds.
Yeah.
She comforts
So
him.
that's what addiction feels like. When you go, I need this to just feel okay.
I can see it now.
I need this to keep going.
Oh shit!
And then even at the end, you kind of mentioned it too. How like he's having PTSD. It's like him,
trying to get clean.
getting off. Yeah, trying to get clean, and he's still seeing her.
Never
around.
stop thinking about it.
Yeah, and he'll probably always.
That's what addiction feels like.
That's crazy.
That is great.
That's awesome,
that's
dude.
really cool. I never.
And
That's awesome.
and how does he crash? In snow.
And he's from New York. I mean, he's not used to probably seeing that much snow everywhere.
I'm making a cocaine reference.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so she represents.
Was he drunk? I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
he probably drank that whole bottle of champagne honestly by himself. So he probably was a little bit drunk.
Oh man,
That's a really interesting.
So misery
that,
represents also. It's obviously the misery that Paul Sheldon's going through, but it's representing a lot of feelings and thoughts that Stephen King was having about his addiction, his cocaine addiction, writing in general. Being a working writer, having fans. That's a really weird thing to like. That's something the average person is never going to experience. Having fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you gotta like.
No,
That doesn't make. That's crazy. Like just like going. Imagine one day you just have fans. All of a sudden you have to be careful about the stuff you're saying.
What you're putting out there.
Yeah,
It's not just writing either. It's like you can have a band that you really like, and then their new album comes out, and then you listen to it and you're like, man, this fucking sucks. And it's because they were trying something new, and you go, you understand as a fan of stuff. Like going like, man, what the fuck happened to you?
Yeah.
You know, or like
That's why, like, I feel like in my
you
life,
see
I
Robert
have
De
to-
Niro doing shitty movies.
I try to like be very okay with artists putting out bad stuff. You know, you have to learn. You have to try this.
Experiment.
You got to be fearless. You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes artists get a bad reputation, or just from them just trying something out. You know. And so Stephen Hawking's obviously going through some of this.
King.
Like, Stephen Hawking. Yeah. So one thing I did
he was in a wheelchair too.
I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of expecting you to have a wheelchair here.
If I could have got one, I would.
Oh, I knew you would. I knew you would.
If I could have got
One thing I didn't really, I just remembered now that I didn't really care for it. It's like a little thing. It's just how on point, like Misery, like the name that they chose. Like one, have you ever met a person named Misery? It was just kind of like too on point for like the actual book. You know, I just felt like you could have named this whole.
Well,
this
you gotta
whole
think
story
it's like,
Misery. But
it's
why,
it's trash romance. It's trash. It doesn't matter.
Right, but then that also correlates with the misery that he's going through.
Yeah.
It just kind of hit the nail on the head like too much to me. I'm like,
that's a pretty small thing. I know what you're saying, but it's like
it's a small little thing. Like you forgive it like instantly, but it was kind of like, you know, you could have just easily just had a little switch, you know. But that's me being super nitpicky in what's otherwise a really fantastic story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember what that thing I was going to say when I got all locked up earlier about the mythology about him as a writer. There's a story, and I don't know how true this is. I don't think this has ever been confirmed, but there's this story. There's a couple of stories, but one of the big ones where you go, God damn, you were like that, is that he finished one of his novels with like toilet paper like shoved in his nose because he fucked up the inside of his nose so much from cocaine use. So like he was getting blood on the typewriter because he was like writing or whatever, and he would drip blood. So I think his like wife or somebody walked in on him writing, and he had like all this fucking toilet paper in his nose, and they were like, dude, this is bad. But one of the things from that interview about misery being about cocaine use, was, I think it was not just specifically cocaine, but cocaine was the biggest part. Addiction in general, and this is the real part. The other thing was like the mythology, but this is like what really happened.
Yeah.
The thing about addiction is scary.
Oh yeah.
So he didn't realize he had a problem until they just started. I don't remember what year this must have been, but they just started doing that thing where you could take your bottle of beer or your cans or whatever. You could return them to a recycling center and they'd give you a nickel for it.
Right.
They give you a few cents to take your bottles to the place.
I remember that.
So, of course, him being the kind of guy he is, was like, well, you know, I don't want to just toss it. Recycling is good, blah, blah, blah. So he didn't want to keep making these trips to the recycling center. So a week would pass. And then he saw all the stuff starting to pile up. He'd see how much he was drinking. He'd see how much... There'd be like little cocaine baggies tossed in there, and there'd be prescription bottles in there, and there'd be all sorts of stuff. And it wasn't until he like was letting it pile up to take it all at once how fast he was making these piles.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and he talks about that, and he was like, that's like one of the things that made me go clean. And it reminded me of an episode of Intervention. Have you ever watched that show? That show
Intervention?
Yeah, that show
I've heard of it,
is
but I've never
crazy. It basically follows people around who are addicts of all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one of them I remember. And I'll yeah, I don't save people's life, but like there was one episode that made me remember this that reminded me of this, where it was like this kid, he must have been like in his early 20s, and he has diabetes, and he would like drink like a bottle bigger than this, like the handles of vodka, and he'd knock one out in a day.
What?
And he would just be immobile, and the camera crew's there, and it's like showing his house. His house was fucking just disgusting, and there's stuff all over it, and they were like pots, like cooking pots, and he was like throwing up in them because he was just getting so fucking wasted. And then he'd be immobile in his living room for like hours, and then he'd get up and he'd drink more, and it was like, damn, dude, what the hell are you doing? And then he gets clean, and they go back to his apartment. It hadn't been clean since he left. And he goes in, and there's bottles of vodka everywhere. Big jugs of vodka. And dirty pans just all over the place. And the lady that's like running the show, she goes, he has to see it like this. Part of his recovery is gonna be facing what it looks like. This is what I was living every day. So you gotta think... King was like sitting there in his fucking office with blood like on his dripping on stuff, and then a pile of, or like just stuff probably over the fireplace, bottles, trash of like all the drugs and shit he was using, and you go, damn.
Well, I'm curious.
He's good now. He's good now, huh?
I'm curious what that kid did when he saw all this stuff.
Oh, I think he relapsed. I think they cleaned it up and then he relapsed. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Don't quote me on it, but
jeez,
I remember that episode, and I kind of, that always stuck with me, was that woman saying, he's got to see it. He's got to see how bad it is. Part of the healing process is looking at it. You can't act like it's not there. And so whenever King had that moment where he realized how the stuff was piling up, he was like, fuck, dude, this is bad.
And maybe that's why he called his book Misery. You know, he wants that reminder, you know, that, hey, that addiction is what? It's misery. If you go through it, it's gonna haunt you.
Yeah.
You know?
And cocaine.
I never saw it that way.
And cocaine was used to motivate him to write, and that's what Annie does.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
and that's what Annie does. Annie motivates him to write.
She does.
She forces him to.
Yeah, she forces him to.
And then in the book, I don't remember if they do it in the movie, when he burns his own. He writes the Misery novel, and then he burns it, and that's how he like gets the one up on her.
Yeah. In
the book, I'm pretty sure he is using fake. He's using fake paper. He's not using the actual.
Oh, that's right.
He hides it.
You're right.
He hides it. So he, even though he was like being manipulated and forced to write it, he still had a hard time parting with something.
That was pretty cool, because like, even though he's going through this really shitty thing, I actually got the vibe, and in the movie too, like, you actually get the vibe that he's actually doing a decent job. He's actually trying, which is kind of crazy. Like,
she's reading it.
True, right? There's that extra motivation, but because she did
Misery.
like, she did give him a hard time with the first, like, I think he did a rough draft, and she's like, no, you got to redo this or whatever. And,
well, her issue was that there was no continuity.
oh yeah, that was interesting too.
Her issue was that she talks about going and watching serials at the beginning of movies. That's a very old thing, where there'd be like a clip, a little short story before the movie. This is like an old thing. It was old when they were making
cereal
movies.
boxes.
No, cereals. Like,
Oh. I thought you said cereal.
yeah, I did say cereal, but I didn't mean
man.
cereal. I meant, you know how they say serial killer? They're not talking about like Frosted Flakes killer. Like a series, a serial, right?
Okay.
So they play these little,
Bro,
these
I love
movies, these little short
I just said
stories.
cereal. I was like, what?
I did say cereal.
Okay, I was thinking
Yeah,
cereal
but-
as like fucking eat a bowl of cereal in the morning.
Yeah, dude, she's upset that she was watching the cereal commercials before the movie, and it wasn't matching up with another cereal commercial.
God damn
So-
it, fucked up again. You see what you got me doing?
So they,
That's why we keep you around, bro.
god damn.
All right, go ahead, finish, man.
No,
Sorry.
whatever. It
Sorry.
doesn't. The point is, her issue is there's no continuity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he throws it away the first time, or she's like, "You killed her," and then he comes up with the idea. And they don't do it in the movie, do they? In the
do
book,
a little bit.
in the book, because she gets buried. In the
And,
book that's the last Misery book that's out,
She
that's
gets
not,
buried, yeah.
the Misery's dead.
Yeah.
And she gets buried. And then in the next one, he has to figure out how to get her out of it. Has to write her out of being dead. And the thing he comes up with is the fact that she's allergic to bees.
Right.
She gets stung by a bee, and it like makes her catatonic, and so she's actually alive and buried. And so in the Misery book that he's writing, that Annie's making him write,
She comes up.
they figure out, they're like, we gotta get her out of there. She got stung by a bee. That's all it is.
Yeah, and then Annie's all
She's
she
like,
loves
that's
it.
great.
Yeah, especially because like I guess it's super rare because I guess there was another character that also maybe had died or I don't know, but there was another character that was supposed to be related to Annie because she also was allergic to bees, and that's where the correlation was that they're related, and that I guess character was like royalty or something. I don't know. It was kind of
And supposedly Misery helped Annie out, right? Survive because she had a divorce and she was going through some stuff. And
Well, yeah, when people get attached to stuff, it's probably because they can kind of relate to it a little bit. Like, I think when you read The Road, the thing that connected you to it was that, Jeremiah had just been born.
yeah. I mean, if I didn't have a son, I think The Road, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. Honestly, like at all.
I think if you read it,
I like the road.
again,
Yeah.
when he's 7,
I'd probably like it even more.
because he doesn't have a personality yet.
No, he doesn't. Oh, he's getting there, but yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
says, babies have personalities. It's like,
Yeah.
no, they don't have opinions yet.
Yeah.
Like, how could
Yeah.
they? Whenever
Start
he's
getting the opinion
a
stuff.
little
Like,
kid,
oh.
start saying when they can start talking to you.
Yeah.
So I think that, that's a thing. I've definitely, like, whenever we were talking about Elephant Man, and I was like, dude, this movie means so much to me. Like, there's something about it that emotionally clicked with me. And
This is not that type of movie.
No.
I could see it maybe for some people, but
no, he's talking about Misery, the
how
the
it kinda
romance
clicks.
novels.
The romance.
How
yeah.
why Annie
it
liked
connects
it.
with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Annie connect with.
Well, her husband left her,
Yes.
and there's that part where she's like, my husband left or whatever, and so yeah, you would think somebody like her would really get attached to
Yeah.
books like that. I don't really know what they were.
Well,
They don't make him sound really trashy in the.
Romance, no.
He just. I really
Yeah,
liked.
romance.
I really liked that Paul Sheldon was like that, where he was kind of just tired of just doing the same shit.
Yeah, he wants a change, And Misery was. I got the sense that he just absolutely hated her. I think he hated all of the Misery
I think he
books.
hated Misery towards the end.
I think
He probably was okay with it for a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe the first couple, and you get that sense in both the book and the movie.
Yeah.
He's just a tired writer, because I would hate that, like doing the same story over and over again. That's like an actor playing the same kind of character over and over again. They want to do other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets old after a while. So yeah,
Like John Wick.
Yeah, why are they still making those?
I don't know.
those movies are great. I haven't seen
I went
I saw,
over
like,
to
the first two.
Those movies are great. I didn't watch most of them. What
Well, how many are there?
do you mean? There's like 4 or 5 of
There's
them.
5 of them.
There's
Are there 5
of them?
now?
Yeah, there's 5.
Okay. I thought there was only 3. I saw the first 2.
No, there's 5.
There's 5?
I know I know for sure there's
Jeez.
like 4 of them. I didn't know there was 5.
No, there's 5, bro. There's 5. There's the 5th one.
Yeah.
That's when he fights everybody.
Whatever. But it's crazy. You're like, those are good movies. Like, you haven't seen most of them.
I didn't know there was 5. I thought there was only 3.
I think the first one and the second one are the best.
Yeah.
I think the first one was decent. But
Anyways,
they're just action movies.
They're just, you know.
I
don't think
they
we
don't
should
need to
ever
be.
do a John
I
Wick
love
one.
action movies. So.
Yeah, it's a good action. It's a great action movie. It's
Yeah,
I
different.
like action movies too, but they don't. They're. It's like the Misery novels. They're just entertainment. They're not meant to be anything more than that. You don't watch them to walk out of there thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be thinking about this a month from now.
Oh, I see.
You don't.
No.
Kind of like we talked about it for Silence of the Lambs. You know, they made all these other movies, and I really don't give a shit about Red Dragon and Hannibal.
Oh,
I really
yeah,
don't care.
Same here, yeah.
You know, like I like
Silence of the Lambs was the best.
Silence of the Lambs, and I don't need all these other films. You know, or even these other books. Quite frankly, you know, unless it's like a story that is kind of ongoing. John Wick is not that type of movie. That should just be one movie in itself. He gets something bad happens to him at the very end. He kills the people that did.
So can you imagine
Done.
you're having this conversation to Paul Sheldon about his character? You know, just being like, you know, it was good, and then what the fuck happened? Because that's
his Misery novels?
Yeah. If Paul Sheldon was real, and you were like, you know, talking about Misery and that, like, man, the first 2 were pretty decent. You don't really need any other ones.
Do y'all think you could do that? Like,
Yes.
meet somebody that
Yes.
and just be
Yes.
brutally honest like that?
Yes.
I know you could, yeah.
Why the fuck why would I be sitting with them? You think I'm gonna meet them randomly in a fucking cafe
Hey,
and be
your
like,
book sucks.
hey, your book sucks. I wouldn't do that.
No,
That's crazy.
no, but like,
if we're
imagine-
sitting having a conversation, then hell yeah. Especially if they're like famous. If it's like a famous person, it's like they don't need you. They're gonna be just fine. If you stop buying their shit, they're not even gonna notice.
Oh yeah, no.
Fuck it.
You've already bought it initially.
Yeah.
If you have
That's all
if you have a problem,
Even if you don't read it.
I wouldn't like relish in it. I wouldn't be like, oh fuck yeah, I told George R. R. Martin he's a fucking fat piece of shit. I wouldn't say that. You know, I wouldn't like, your book fucking sucks, idiot. You know, I wouldn't do that. But like, if they were like, hey, we're here to talk about your book, and I was like, hey, you know, there's certain things about this that I didn't like. If Stephen King were here, you don't think he'd sit here and have a good time talking to us?
He probably wouldn't. He'd probably just be real quiet. I don't know. I just get that vibe. I don't really.
Have you seen his interviews?
No.
He's actually really cool.
Really?
Yeah. He actually seems very friendly.
Really?
Yeah. And I think part of, because I think if you guys know, not you guys, but like if anybody watching knows how I am, I tend to be in a dark place a lot. I like the dark places. I like the horror. That's kind of where I'm most comfortable. But if you know me, you know I'm not like that.
No.
I'm not really a hateful person. I'm not really,
not at all.
I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So I think he expresses himself through horror.
You and him probably get the same problem where people kind of give them a bad
I don't
rap.
look like the Crypt Keeper.
I'm not the Crypt Keeper. He's yeah.
You think that we would have something like that? I bet we do.
Oh, I bet
you.
y'all definitely do.
Yeah.
You know.
He's probably a very pleasant guy, and like if you know The Shining, that story, it's literally him getting frustrated with his family bothering him while he's trying to write. That's really actually what that was. It was him going like, God, they're fucking pissing me off. Like I'm trying to work. I'm trying to get this fucking family fed, and they won't leave me the fuck alone. And so him working through his anger of it, not actually yelling at them, not actually hitting them, not actually attacking them,
It's just to write it out.
but thinking like, what if I were that type of guy?
This is what would happen.
This could happen. The idea of some dad abusing his family is very real. That does happen.
It's a good thing Stephen King did, express himself through writing, because I think maybe more people need that artistic, creative outlet. Because maybe we'd have less murders. Maybe we'd have less, you know what I mean? Because it helps.
And we'd have some good horror movies.
yeah.
Right.
Because like I was going through a lot when my second child was born, and like literally it was mentally draining on me.
Yeah.
And I literally would write poetry, and I fucking felt better. It's crazy. And it's amazing how you don't think about your first Well, first of all, I don't think people actually try to fix their mental, anguish that they're going through in the first place. But if they chose to do so, writing it out is really helpful. And I don't think people do it enough.
Or just creativity in general.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, painting.
Yeah. If you're lonely and you don't have anybody to talk to about it, write it out.
So yeah, I think we can agree that King I think is very in tune with his emotions, and I think if you saw it, we should look at an interview of him. He seems very chill, very friendly, and this isn't to insult him in any way, but he is very much the working man's writer. He's very much a working man's writer. Compare his books from his works to Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy is almost like a philosopher, and King is not that. He's very much like, hey, I've got a crazy idea that I want to explore, and I'm just going to tell it.
And it's for like the working man. Like Cormac McCarthy is like, you gotta have to be really invested in it.
You really have to,
and you gotta be dedicated to it. And Stephen King, you don't. You can be relaxed. You can enjoy a story.
You can be relaxed. Yeah, his you can kind of just. I mean, I was speeding through it. I was going through it really quick. I was like, holy shit, I'm halfway done with this book already. Because it's just enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's like...
So does it make you want Stephen King to be more of that philosophical aspect of it, or do you think it's fine the way it's written?
I think Stephen King should just be what he is. And I think that if you want more, if I can go read that Gene Wolfe book. Remember I was telling you about that one? Where it takes place in the future.
Yeah.
That his writing exists. I can go read his books when I want to challenge myself. I can go read Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen King has his place where it's like, when you put on junk TV, and because you just want to relax, fucking have a beer, watch some TV after work. I don't want to sit here and fucking think.
Yeah, I see what you. Yeah.
That's what Stephen King is. He is. Hey, we're just here to chill. Sometimes you'll find some fun stuff, like finding out that this is actually an allegory about cocaine use. Is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is.
That's super interesting.
But it's not that deep.
No.
I did like. They don't mention this in the. There's only one line in the movie where it's like, I got the typewriter cheat because it's missing an N or it's missing a letter.
Mm-hmm.
But in the book, multiple letters keep falling out.
Yeah, you're right.
And the writing becomes harder and harder to read in the book, in the manuscript, and then you see like the printing of it that Annie went through and wrote in the R's and the N's. She writes them in, so you can actually see. It's actually kind of cool.
That's cool.
It actually is kind of cool. Like you can see that she's going through and he's giving it to her and she's filling them in. And then it gets weirder and weirder as you go because there's less and less letters. So she's having to like fill in the pieces, and it's happening as he's losing pieces of his body. There's he loses his foot, and then there's another letter missing, and then there's cool stuff.
I didn't get that because I listened to the book on an audiobook.
You can't see it.
You can't see it. Yeah, so I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah,
so that's cool.
Damn. All right.
I think I saw it.
The end. I might be able to find something.
I think toward the end, I think I saw it, but. That's a really cool detail.
Yeah, you can actually
would have liked.
Damn, I wish I'd have.
That is cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, cool. There's cool shit like that where there's stuff written.
Man, I should have read.
One of my beard hairs is in there.
Oh no.
Whatever. I'm not gonna be able to find it screwing around on here. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up? Because I think we found a pretty good punctuation for the other.
I think so.
They're fucking
go watch
great.
It.
Go watch it, guys.
Yes, go watch that.
Yeah, it doesn't get enough love. It should.
People who love horror should watch this.
It's not. I don't know. There's horrific stuff that happens. I wouldn't call this a horror. Oh look, they wrote the end.
How nuts!
Yeah, if you look here, you can see like the T's are drawn in, the N is drawn in.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But anyways, I think we're gonna get out of here, you guys. Harley didn't make a sound, man. She's been in here the whole time.
Harley's the German Shepherd down there.
Yeah, the German Shepherd's down there. She hasn't made an appearance.
She's chillaxing.
She is chilling, big chilling. Thanks to Artica AC and Heating, okay? Hey guys, we're gonna get out of here.
Give them a call.
Give them a call.
Like and subscribe.
Guys, like and subscribe. We love you, Matt. Hopefully you made it to the end of the video.
Yeah, thanks, man. Love you, bro.
All right, guys, we're going to get out of here.
Later.
Bye.